I actually have a sponsor.
Oh my god.
I know.
Someone agreed to follow fire as a sponsor.
Yeah, unfortunately, as far as I'm aware, we've been dropped by fire. So fuck them. That's how you get new business, right? You insult your old sponsors.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's how it works.
Yeah, right. Well, this week's episode is sponsored by Uncle Ben's. After a hard day's work, there's nothing better than to cap it all off with an ice-cold glass of Uncle Ben's spicy meat drink. You know you want some of that sweet, succulent, salty sauce. Just suck it down. Go on, just have a bit. That's right, suck down Uncle Ben's spicy meat drink. And remember, kids, with great power comes great big meat drink.
I like that ad.
Yeah, I know, it's punchy.
Yeah.
It gets you right in the face and the throat.
I like the repetition of suck it down.
That is their tagline, I believe. Uncle Ben, suck it down.
I feel like it's a phrase that is woefully underused in advertising. Suck it down.
I actually have a can of their spicy meat drink right now. So, look.
Are we going to have a live reaction to the spicy meat drink on the podcast?
So good. Oh, yeah.
I'm a bit worried that we might have to mark this podcast as X-rated because of all of that noise.
Yeah, I mean, my blood salt level is through the fucking roof, so I'm sweating a lot and it smells like a barbecue. Highly recommended.
To be fair, as long as I've known you, your blood has been mostly gravy.
That's not a bad thing. In fact, we can market that. Right, hold on. I'm just going to write this down. Gravy, blood / deodorant.
It's a brilliant scheme.
Yeah.
We've got into schemes already.
No!
We can't come straight out of the ad read and directly bang straight into the middle of schemes.
No! We need to do that preamble bit that we sometimes do. So, Phil. How are you? I know, that felt wrong, just asking that. We've never done that before.
No.
We don't greet each other, we don't introduce each other, and we don't ask how the other one is.
I think mostly because neither of us really care how the other one is.
And we don't want to know.
No.
It's like if you have a friend or a relative, you bump into them and they're clearly missing something. Bits have dropped off of them since you last saw them. Do you really want to ask how they are? Do you want to know? It's obvious how they're doing. Badly. So they can either awkwardly do that, oh, you know, I'm fine. Or they come right out and said, well, another bit fell off this morning and this one smelled of roast beef.
No, you don't want that. But equally, people, when you genuinely want to know how someone is, or when you don't really care but you're just asking out of politeness, and then the person tells you all the things that are wrong with them, those people might be the worst.
Yeah.
You know, when you go like, oh, how are you doing? And they go, well, my cat died and turned into soup in my back garden, and my husband left me, as did my wife, because I was a Mormon.
I feel like Mormons have not got the best rap on this show. Like, we seem to have greatly misrepresented their community.
They are low-hanging fruit, and there is nothing wrong with picking off low-hanging fruit.
Right, enough of that horse shit. Enough of that monkey semen. Enough of that worthless preamble to an unfunny podcast.
I think there might be a carbon monoxide leak in your room. We're not supposed to share things about our lives.
That legitimately is being cut. That is the first thing that I'm legitimately going to cut. Because one, it's not interesting, and two, it was truth.
I believe it was William Shakespeare who said, truth is, like, boring.
That's like the unwritten rule of this podcast. No truth. No real talk.
I don't even know what we're doing. What are we? What is this?
In fact, I am going to add that rule to the doc. Remember we had a list of rules? I only just remembered. Okay, rule 24 after Theo must die. No real talk. Is that what the kids are calling it? Real talk?
I'm pretty sure.
It's like where they dish real talk. I'm doing that thing with my hand where it's like horizontal and you sort of like flick it out as you say things.
I don't know what that means.
Well, it's supposed to be an expression of youth, but clearly I'm older than I thought. Anyway, shall we move into recriminations and sentiments?
I think it is important that we do, because this intro has run out of steam a lot quicker than usual. Although I think that's good, because we usually do roughly 40 minutes of introduction.
Yeah, and that is torturous to get through.
Yeah.
And to listen back through, and to edit, and for everyone involved.
I have one sentiment. It's quite a long one, so I think you should go first.
You know what? I can't classify these. They don't necessarily fall into recriminations or sentiments.
Do we have to add another category, like recriminations, sentiments, and ambiguities?
I think we're not doing that, but if we were, it would be threats.
Okay.
And I don't even think these necessarily fall into that, but I think that sort of characterizes the average feedback that we get. I have to admit that some of these are they're less engaged with the content of the podcast, they're less long-winded, but they are a lot more bold. The top one from this week just says quality.
Is that sarcasm?
I don't know.
I feel like it might be sarcasm.
Is that saying that this is a quality podcast? Is this a slur on the name of the podcast? Is it some kind of satirization of what we're about? Is it a threat? It could be a threat. I'm going to take that as a fucking threat.
I feel like maybe it's some kind of sentiment, because we say that quality is irrelevant on this podcast. Perhaps they are saying that quality is relevant.
Well, then that's just a contradiction. Okay, recriminations, sentiments, threats, and contradictions.
But in which case, I've flip-flopped here, I think.
Ah.
I don't think it's positive anymore, because if they're saying that quality is relevant, then that is entirely against the ethos of this podcast. And I dislike and distrust people who are against my ethos.
Yeah, I fear this. I fear this man. Or woman. Phil.
I'm sorry.
God. Jesus. Anyway, yeah, so fuck that person.
Yeah, go to hell.
This one is much more polite, I have to say. This podcast must be what they play to prisoners in Guantanamo.
I mean, at least that's some extra downloads for us.
I mean, I wish this were the case. We could really use the exposure.
Any PR is good PR. Is that a thing?
In fact, can we get on the Guantanamo podcast network? I assume they must have one. There must be some sweet Guantanamo bucks on that network.
I disagree. I think that if we became the most popular audio within Guantanamo Bay, that would be a niche, and I am against niches, I think.
I can't remember what side of the fence we came down on, but whatever side that is, we come down firmly on it.
The rules say we should never have a niche, so sorry, Guantanamo Bay.
Yeah, but fuck you guys. You don't get our podcast because you're too good for us. Can we use that as the tagline? Too good for terrorists? Oh, not good enough for terrorists.
I don't know if that makes us a threat to national security.
How about a threat to terrorism?
I feel like that might draw the wrong crowd. They might think that they're going to press play on the podcast and we're suddenly going to be like, guns and killing migrants.
Or maybe we're like, you know how they always say, who watches the watchman? We could be like, who terrorizes the terrorists?
Batman, I think. Terrorizes Were you looking for an answer, or?
Well, I just realised that we would then have to go with the tagline, the Batman of podcasts, but I'm pretty sure every podcast on the planet has wanted to use that tagline at some point.
I would imagine so.
In fact, I'm pretty sure Batman must be the most frequent topic on any given podcast, so immediately we've got to strike this from the record.
Yeah, please cut this whole section out where we mention Batman.
You know what that means though, right?
It's going to end up in the podcast.
Maybe. Anyway, third and final recrimination and or sentiment. We don't know. Who can tell? Spin the wheel of criticism.
And or threat and or contradiction.
This is becoming bloated and unwieldy. Just like our podcast.
I think we should rename this section to just...
Okay, so the next... Actually, I quite like this one. It's a little bit longer, but I will read the whole thing. Strong, robust, and simple to use. Powerful enough to do just about any task around the house you could possibly come up with. Variable and reverse speed with a 24 torque clutch and spring-loaded battery. Good to go out of the box, so all in all, job done. Highly recommended. So I think to that we can say thank you very much. Finally, someone who understands and appreciates our work. Good on you.
They've really engaged with the technical specifications of this podcast, and I appreciate that.
So that's probably our top review, I would say. I want that, like, you know, when you go to iTunes or whatever, there's like top reviews and stuff. I think that should be our number one, most helpful, most agreed upon feedback right there.
I agree completely, but can we also block that person?
Well, of course, I mean, that goes without saying.
I just feel like it sometimes needs saying.
Yep. Sorry, Black & Decker.
Oh.
Whoever you are.
Oh. Was that for a Black & Decker thing?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay, I will live in ignorance.
Yeah.
As I have done for many years. I'm just going to let that hang.
I could disagree with you, but I literally can't.
Unsurprising. So, I have... this one, I would say, is very much a sentiment. Without a doubt, this podcast is a miracle. I have witnessed its divine and unearthly power with my own two eyes, which incidentally were completely blind until episode 1 healed me and allowed me to see clearer than I ever did before. This podcast has cured the sick and raised the dead, turned the tide and moved mountains, and there is not a single lingering doubt in my mind that this podcast will bring about peace on earth and allow us to live in total, perfect harmony. So I'd say that's pretty good.
That is quite complimentary.
I have a couple of qualms about the raise the dead part because I'm terrified of zombies, but I kind of gloss over that because they said a lot of nice things.
I don't know. I mean, they didn't specifically mention the time that I cured the 5,000 of leprosy.
I feel like you only kind of want to put so many words. You know, you can't really get into specifics. So to sort of paint our miraculous nature with a broad brush.
Personally, I thought that was a highlight of episode 3, but I mean, yeah, okay. There was a lot of great content that week.
I should point out at this stage that wasn't actually a review of us. That was an iTunes review of our rival podcast. Quantity insufficient. I don't know. Have you heard it? They've only put out one episode, but it's fucking brilliant.
They are truly the Appleman to our Banana Man.
As in... I don't understand that reference. I remember Appleman and Banana Man, but I don't know what kind of parallels you're trying to draw.
Appleman was rotten to the core.
But that review says that they're a lot better than us.
Oh shit, are we the Appleman?
I think we might be Appleman.
Oh, we're Appleman. They get to be Banana Man. Damn it.
Yeah, with all of his banana strength.
See, Banana Man was the best one because he actually had a cowl that looked a bit like Batman with little, like, banana horns on it. Appleman, his head was just a big apple.
His head was a fucking apple.
It was just an apple. It wasn't like Appleman got a mask that was apple-themed.
No, it's like, you're Appleman, your head is now an apple.
Yeah, that's the worst one. And he probably had a maggot in there as well because he was rotten to the core.
Yeah, although, I mean, we did never see Banana Man's gentleman area.
Oh, that's true. He could have just had a big old
plantain
or a little boy's penis because there was this whole thing about he hadn't hit puberty yet as a kid. So if he turned it, what happens to Shazam? Does Shazam have this problem? Is it Shazam or Captain Marvel?
I don't know if Shazam has fully grown adult male genitalia.
Because isn't there this thing like he's a 12-year-old but he can turn into an adult? What if that adult gets laid? Is that pedophilia? Pedophilia, rather.
I don't know enough to comment, but I'm going to say yes.
What was the question?
Is Banana Man a paedophile?
Okay. Almost definitely. And that is our quantity sufficient.
It was quantity insufficient.
Insufficient. Oh.
Because they've only done one episode.
Oh, I get it. It's a clever pun.
That was the joke. Jokes are funny when you explain them.
Jokes are not allowed on this podcast, so it makes sense that they would have one.
Motherfuck. I forgot about that.
Okay, I'm gonna go over to their recording studio and like put a bucket of water over the door as like a bit of a joke. Not a joke. I mean as a trick.
I don't think we're allowed tricks either.
What?
I don't know. I'm pretty sure it's on the rules. Definitely.
I can hear typing.
No, it was on the rules before. Like, I'm pretty sure it's like underlined and like bold and stuff.
God damn it. Okay, well, it does say it right there, so I suppose you were right. That's a real shame because that really buggers up something I had coming up next week. But oh well, never mind. We shall persevere. So, other than worrying about the moral quandary of who is the true Appleman of this verse, do we have any more recriminations and sentiments?
No, but I think you've given us the perfect closer who is Appleman.
I kind of just want to put posters around Basingstoke with a picture of Appleman just on the front of it, and just a big statement at the top saying, "Who is Appleman? Theo and Phil, maybe? Of quality irrelevant? Question mark? Who knows?" They'll never guess.
No, but we are Appleman. Schemes!
Now, we're doing pretty damn well this week. We're nice and on time. We've kept it clipped and short, which makes me think, can this be the week, finally, where I do my film review? Now, I asked that question not as a proposal, but as a genuine question. How much content have you got? Because I've got fuck all apart from this. So do I need to get this out of the way finally, or shall we tide it over for yet another week?
Well, I have this Patrick Fabian thing.
Is it burning a hole in your pocket?
Yeah, it might take a little while because I feel like there's quite a lot in there that you'll want to talk about.
Oh, okay then. All right, forget the film review. That's not a thing. We don't review films here. What? What's a film? Anyway, shoot.
Okay, so as all the viewers know, we are, or mostly me lately, you haven't really been pulling your weight here, I don't think. We've been trying to make Patrick Fabian, actor from Better Call Saul and that other thing that he was in.
That film.
Trying to make him much more famous than he currently is. And my way of doing that is by making him infamous, because I feel like that's a lot easier than making people famous. So in previous weeks, I've been quite, I would say, scattershot. I've just sort of thrown ideas at the wall and seen what sticks. Hasn't got him anywhere. Like, Patrick Fabian is no more famous now than he was when we started doing this section.
Whoa. He has a new follower on Twitter.
He has 2, but that is us.
I fail to see the problem there. Oh, shit, that's a good point. He's probably lost more followers because this podcast now follows him.
I would imagine so.
I cannot wait for the day that he finds out who we are, because that's happening. I've got plans. Oh, it's going to be so good. It will be the darkest day in his life.
I feel like there may be some form of lawsuit on that day.
It's okay, because I told him we're in Basingstoke. So he'll try and sue that place.
Sue Basingstoke.
Yeah, he'll try and sue Basingstoke, but that's all right. That's just in the fictional verse of the podcast, so it's okay. If it happens on the podcast, it is fiction. Therefore, any real-world consequences that occur as a result of what we say here are not our fault, I believe. So it's like if I called a bomb threat at, like, the local Waitrose, that's fine.
Yeah.
Because I did it on the podcast.
And because we say that we're in Basingstoke, that means diplomatic immunity, I think.
Like in Lethal Weapon 4.
Yeah.
Diplomatic immunity. That's what he says, right?
It was the most sensual of the Lethal Weapon movies.
Damn right. Anyway,
I don't know what that means.
We got massively sidetracked. What are we doing to Patrick? I mean, how are we improving Patrick Fabian's career this week?
As I said, I've been a bit random in my approach. I decided to get more focused, and I've put together a 5-year plan for Patrick Fabian to make him infamous. And I feel like this is all going to work.
Wow. He should hire you on the spot right now. Is his agent or whoever, or assistant or editor, or whatever people have, are they putting in this much work? I don't think so. You've got a 5-year plan for a man you don't even know yet.
I would agree with you, but I know what I'm about to say, and I'm aware that it is absolute nonsense. But as a counterpoint to that, last week I had to sit through your fucking film pitch, so
Lucky you.
I think we'll be even after this week.
Got them.
So I'm going to break it down year by year. If you decide that you want to talk about anything, we can kind of have a break between the years and just talk about it, kind of brainstorm some ideas.
An annual review.
Yes. So, year one, I think that Patrick Fabian should announce that he is retiring from the acting profession to pursue his lifelong dream of becoming a world-famous treasure hunter. While being a treasure hunter, he should then immediately stumble upon a hugely important relic. I put in brackets, Holy Grail, ? But, I mean, that's negotiable, really. But he should stumble upon it in the first cave he goes into. Then he should return triumphant to the US, but instantly ruin his public image by spitting at a differently able person and kicking a dog into a canyon. And then he should go swimming to calm his nerves and accidentally get crowned king of the lost city of Atlantis. So that is year one.
Wow, that's a busy year. But I mean, again, this is why I think you need to get on his payroll.
I mostly agree with you because I feel like I'm throwing out some gold here.
Yeah, and I mean, if he does any of these things, you immediately get a check, right?
I think that's how it works. This is like a verbal copyright.
You can do that. Or trademark. We still don't know what these terms mean, but we're gonna use them. That is our legal right.
Absolutely. We will use them. If anything, we will overuse them. We will run those motherfuckers into the ground.
I've never heard of copyright trolling.
No.
Or bankruptcy. Anyway, I think this is a bold move.
Yeah.
I like how your approach to improving his career as an actor is for him to immediately retire.
Yeah.
That is thinking outside the box. I bet someone on his board, the board of Patrick Fabian or whatever, or however it works, didn't propose that idea.
Yeah.
Just retire and become the next Harrison Ford / Nicolas Cage / who's that Baldwin brother that no one likes?
Billy Baldwin.
That's the one. / was it Poseidon?
Yeah.
Yeah. To be Poseidon. That's fine.
Yeah.
The thing that I have a problem with here is I don't know if spitting on a differently abled person and what was it, kicking a dog into a ravine?
A canyon.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Okay.
There is a big difference. I will have you know.
What is the difference?
Pass.
Moving on, that's fine. We'll just skate right over that gaping chasm.
No, chasm's a different thing.
And the difference is?
I'll get back to you.
We could go on for a long time. Anyway, I don't think... Okay, we've got to get this spit exactly right. One, we need to work out the breed of dog that gets kicked into the canyon / ravine /
I was just going to go on Google and just look up, like, the most beloved dog in the world.
Which is...
I didn't do it. I was going to. This is the bare bones of the 5-year plan.
I'm sorry, I shouldn't be grilling you on the minutiae.
I'm an ideas guy. We are aware of this. I am just the ideas man. I have other minions to do all of the research and
the work.
Figure out if any of this is possible.
Yeah. Oh, wait. That's not me, is it?
I don't think you're skilled enough.
Oh, thank Christ for that. Yeah, I completely agree with that.
I mean, you can get my coffee and stuff.
Can I? I might suffer horrific burns. Okay, so I understand the kicking the dog into the canyon. People love dogs. They love dogs in all forms. In fact, it might be an idea to get the entire cast of Better Call Saul replaced with dogs apart from Patrick Fabian.
I feel like that's a completely separate idea. Please remain on topic.
But spitting on the differently abled, we've got to get this down. Like, this has to be rehearsed and choreographed. In fact, it might be worth hiring a whole group of actors to play this out, just so we control. You know, we don't want this going wrong. We don't want him, like, hocking up a huge load and then, like, projecting it, whipping it through the air, and it missing and, say, like, splatting onto the face of a neo-Nazi or someone less reputable.
So are you saying that we should have a crowd of audience plants.
Yes, I think we should. Now, that is a very good idea.
Like at the ceremony when he comes back and goes, look, I've got the Holy Grail. Like most of the crowd in front of the museum is just actors.
And in fact, this is pretty good because this will give us an opportunity to get some of our other stable of actors in on this, to give them a bit of work. So I was thinking we could probably get Robert Patrick.
Yes.
I feel like he's not been in enough these days, and he's sort of an unknown face at this sort of juncture. We probably get Taylor Swift in there as well. I think we sort of had her on our books from last week. Maybe Gerard Butler could play the little disabled man.
I would quite like to get Mark Strong in there as well.
Oh, okay. I mean, do you think we can afford Mark Strong?
I think he probably doesn't cost as much as you think he does.
What? So, like, he accepts payments in, like, Whatsits and Pringles and stuff on the side?
Well, I mean, he's been in a lot of really terrible movies, so I feel like his bar can't be that high.
That's true. I am looking at his filmography right now. Doesn't look good. What the hell is a John Carter?
Something about space, I think.
That won't make any money. Let's buy the rights to that so we can make our own film. Anyway, sidebar. What I really want is we should make sure that when Patrick Fabian is spitting into the face of Gerard Butler, Robert Patrick and Mark Strong sort of like holding hands and watching with Taylor Swift with a big lollipop and a balloon, we should make sure that Patrick Fabian is mic'd up so we can really get the smacking of the lips and the tongue and the hacking and
the onrushing gurgling of phlegm as it proceeds up the esophagus.
Where he sort of like rolls it around on his tongue a little bit to ball it up nice and good. Preparing the blast of air from behind the tongue to then blast it straight out through the lips. I also would like it if you could sort of upturn one sort of nostril on the side of the mouth, you know, where you sort of sneer in disgust.
I also think diet is going to be an important factor. I feel like what he eats and drinks is going to play a big part in it. And for my money, you can't really go wrong with a big bowl of yeast. Just to make it really solid.
Yeah, nice and sedimenty.
Yeah, sort of like that could take someone's eye out.
So we have the bullet spit and then kicking a dog into the canyon. There's literally like he spits in this crowd and then the canyon is like right next to them. So he does bang, bang, like 1, 2, spit, kick. Or is this like separate events?
Ideally, I think we're going to try and host the kind of presentation of the Holy Grail at there must be a museum that's right by a canyon somewhere. Yeah, he's just gonna like spit in the face of a differently able person on the same move almost, you know, because it's gonna like be a really like bodily move. Like he's gonna just like thrust forwards, just trying to get that extra bit of power behind it.
Yeah, just whipping the neck round and the head to just sling it.
But almost on the same movement, he's just gonna scoop a dog up from the crowd and just drop kick it into a canyon.
Very nice. So, God, we spent a lot of time on year 1. That's year 1! Blimey.
Yeah, we've got to rush straight on to year 2.
Crack on.
Okay, so year 2. He will immediately announce that he's retiring from being King of the Lost City of Atlantis profession to pursue his lifelong dream of becoming a professional luchador. He's then going to win the big luchador competition under the name Señor Picante, which of course translates to Mr. Spicy. And he's going to do that by literally decapitating his opponent and then trying, but honestly, thankfully failing to fuck the neck hole. And then, like, after that, because of his brutality in the luchador competition, he's going to get co-opted into a Mexican drug cartel as an enforcer, then slowly work his way up to the top of the organization to become a sort of like a Pablo Escobar-esque drug kingpin. And that is the end of year 2. Like, not as much to do in year 2. You wanted to, like, start strong. And then, year 2 is kind of like, you can relax into your role a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, most actors, they yearn for this phase where, you know, they've hit it big the first time round. And now, you know, they can retreat a little bit more. They can do things a little bit more arty. Yeah, I think this will go down well. Again, I have a couple of clarifications here. His outfit.
Yes.
Is his face going to be concealed in any way at all? Because unfortunately, Patrick Fabian's face, I feel, should not be concealed at all in any way. So for his luchador mask thing, could we perhaps, instead of the traditional, quite colourful face masks, instead, could he maybe wear a big sombrero?
Well, I had some ideas.
Okay.
I want him to sort of appear as a young upstart in the luchador world.
He's got the hair for it.
Yeah, and so he's going to sort of eschew some of the traditions of the luchador culture. Instead of wearing the sort of vest and spandex with the very colourful mask, possibly some sort of cape.
Oh, I like the cape.
To go along with his luchador name of Senor Picante, he's going to dress up like a giant chili. Like you see sometimes like very unemployed and then poorly paid students having to sort of like hand out leaflets on the street, but they're dressed as a big banana.
Yeah.
It's like that level of costume, but it is a red chili. And that's what he wrestles in.
So a lot of felt, a lot of cheap fabrics and stuff.
Yeah, like stuff that you feel like if there's too much friction, it will probably just melt to your skin.
Yeah. How big? Because sometimes it's like huge, like they can barely get their arms out the sides, almost like Mickey Mouse at Disneyland, but nowhere near as good in terms of quality.
Well, ideally, I think I'd like it to be very, very oversized.
Ah, brilliant.
It's like a big, giant, floppy chili, and literally just his hands poking out of the sides, and his face just poking out of the front of it.
Can he be wearing those big white gloves that people seem to have in cartoons?
I feel like that went without saying.
Oh, okay, sorry, yes. And I assume there's some sort of crotch flap so he can have intercourse with the neck hole.
Yeah, I mean, again, thought that went without saying. It's well known in the luchador world that is Senor Picante's finishing move, that he rips his opponent's head off and then tries, but ultimately is unsuccessful at fucking the neck hole.
So when you say decapitate, this isn't going to be like, and then a sword is thrown into the ring and suddenly it becomes like a weapons battle.
No, it's not like one of his helpers just throws a machete to him mid-fight. He literally tears the head off.
With his teeth or just his bare hands?
Oh, just his bare hands. I mean, his gloved hands.
Big white gloves.
Yeah.
Where you can't even really like grip. They're almost like you just have two flat.
I mean, that just makes it more impressive.
Yeah, so he just plants each hand either side of his opponent's head, and then without even like gripping with his fingers, is it like a twist or like a rip?
It's like a twist, like getting the top off a jar. Just bam, and the head's off. Like, it's so quick that the blood doesn't even start spurting out for like a couple of seconds, like long enough for him to just get his parts out. And
what does he do with the head?
He just throws it into the crowd. It's like when a baseball is hit into the crowd and someone catches it, and then it's a nice souvenir. Like, there are dozens of people down in Mexico who have just a severed head in like a glass case on their bookshelf, and that's just a little memento from the time they got to see Senor Picante in a luchador match.
I mean, Phil, I think you're romanticizing this a little bit too much. I mean, it'd be nice if that occurred, but I think most of these end up on eBay, so probably someone's going to scribble a fake signature on there saying, what is it? Senor Picante! It could get up to 30 doubloons on eBay, so...
I mean, that's an impressive price for what is essentially a human head.
Year 3. We got to crack on here.
I'm just going to get through year 3 a lot quicker.
Okay, go on then.
Year 3, he then announces that he is retiring from the Pablo Escobar-esque drug kingpin profession to pursue his lifelong dream of competing in the new series of Robot Wars. Then he makes the second announcement clarifying that in this situation he is going to be the robot, not the roboteer. That's very important. He's then going to glue a buzzsaw to his head and hammers to his elbows and flail his way to victory. And in the meantime, he's also going to start an intense and graphically public sexual relationship with Sir Kill-A-Lot until his dick nearly gets snipped off by the pincer and then successfully sues him for alimony. And that is year 3.
Okay, again, I know we've got to get through this really quick. Just a couple of reservations here. When you say his dick gets cut off,
It nearly gets snipped off.
I really think we should do a deal with like Heat or something and make sure that, a few weeks after the event, when it's died down a little bit, after, Fabian gets dick off, we need to do like a double page spread of the restored member, because we need to keep the sexual interest in Patrick Fabian going strong.
Yeah, like Patrick Fabian reattached dick shocker.
Exactly. And, they've got a double page spread exclusive covering the member in question.
Yeah.
And I think we can move on. That's an exciting year. That's when he gets scrappy. I like that.
Yeah. So, year 4. This is kind of harking back to one of my earlier ideas for Patrick Fabian, but I think kind of using it in a more constructive manner. So, in year 4, he should then announce that he's retiring from the champion of Robot Wars and having violent, penetrative sex with Sir Kill-A-Lot profession to pursue his lifelong dream. This is his lifelong dream, remember?
Yeah.
Of being the greatest chud wrangler the world has ever seen.
Ah, yes, of course.
So he should then relocate to the sewers and ride around on a mobility scooter, tying up chuds with a lasso and shouting, "Yeehaw!" He should then round all them dirty chuds up and put them in a pen, then set the pen on fire and walk away without looking at them or listening to their screams. And then he should just chill out for 6 months, because I honestly don't think there are enough chuds around to keep him occupied for a full year.
Well, it's nice to get a break. I mean, he's had a busy schedule up until this point, so I think he'd use a little bit of a rest.
Yeah.
Like all the best actors do this. They say they're taking a break to focus on family and kids, or refine their craft, or learn to become a cobbler or something. This could actually increase interest in him if he takes some time off, so that's quite good.
I mean, there's the chance that it might piss off the chud sympathizers out there, but I mean, once you get to this stage, you can't really please everybody, so I think we're just going to have to take that hit.
And some stars do very well when they take a strong political stance. Look at your Brad Pitts and your Angelina Jolies and your Ted Nugents. Yeah, they do very well when they take a political stance. People look up to that. People respect that.
And honestly, I don't think I've ever heard anyone not say Angelina Jolie, Brad Pitt, and Ted Nugent in the same breath before. Like, they just come as a package, really.
Oh, yeah,
like the three of them, they're sort of inseparable.
They are the trio, the holy trinity of political activism in Hollywood.
Yep.
And now, Patrick Fabian, he may usurp Brad Pitt's position there. He's become a little complacent of late, I have to say.
Yes. Shame on you, Brad Pitt.
Shame on you, Brad. Patrick Fabian is coming for you. On his mobility scooter with a lasso, shouting, "Yeehaw!"
And hog-tied chud on the back of his mobility scooter.
Fella, I have to confess, I'm not trying to say that you've plagiarized yourself here at all, or that there's some obvious formula that has emerged, but I think you're really going to need to hit it out of the park with the final year, because whilst a lot of people will see this as a return to form, some people may say, this is the third year that he's been involved in essentially pitched battle and combat, so people may tire a little bit of this. I mean, it's different, I will grant you, but being on the mobility scooter is reminiscent of his time on Robot Wars, so maybe we want to switch this up in year 5. I still like the idea. It's a good idea, and I think the break is going to be good for him. I mean, everyone's got to have a down year, but I really want you to come in strong on year 5.
Oh, well, I don't think you'll be disappointed, because year 5 is the storming return to form for Patrick Fabian, because in year 5, he's going to announce that everything over the past 4 years has been an elaborate Joaquin Phoenix-style publicity stunt, and that cameras have been following him around the whole time. So once he's announced that, he's going to shave off his big, massive, disgusting, homeless paedophile beard and start work on Better Call Saul season 12. Because I think we'll be at about season 12 by then.
About that, 5 years, 12 seasons, yeah.
Yeah, so he's then going to win all of the Oscars. Every single one.
What's like best special effects, most original screenplay.
Yeah, best costume.
Best foreign film.
Yeah.
Best animated film. Yeah.
All of them. we don't really know what for. I think it's just going to be a case of people just go, well, the Oscars are basically irrelevant now because Patrick Fabian has proven himself to be the greatest actor of all time, so we might as well just give him all of the Oscars from now until the end of time.
Now, you mentioned cameras following him around at all times.
I haven't finished year 5 yet.
Oh, sorry. I apologise.
Thank you. So once he's won all the Oscars, he's going to do a simple act. He's just going to head back to his hometown of Hills District, Pittsburgh, to show his distant and disapproving father all of his awards and hopefully finally get that simple nod of recognition that he's always craved. And the lack of that has driven him to accomplish everything good that he has ever done in this world. You know, from being king of Atlantis to having a sexual relationship with Sir Kill-a-Lot to being the world famous Chud Wrangler and winning all of the Oscars. And as he goes back to his father's house, he will have a heart attack and noisily shit himself to death on his father's front porch, dropping all of his Oscars down a nearby storm drain. When his father comes to the front door, finally, he will see his dead, shit-covered son, and all he will say is, well, my son done fucked up again, and just close the door just very slowly on Patrick Fabian. I've just written Finn at the end because I felt like it was artistic enough to warrant that.
That's an odd accent for Pittsburgh that his father had.
Well, he's not originally from Pittsburgh.
Oh, okay, then that makes sense. That's where he's actually from, right?
I found out he was from Pittsburgh and then Googled what is the worst neighborhood in Pittsburgh.
That's pretty good. So that's quite a bold move.
Yeah.
You're Heath Ledgering him, essentially.
Yeah, I mean, we just want it to be sort of their ends, the tragic story of Patrick Fabian.
The ballad of Patrick Fabian.
But he will never be forgotten except by his father, who will immediately forget his existence.
Isn't that the tragedy of the piece?
Yes, that was what I just said.
You mentioned the paedophile beard.
Yeah. I'm not saying he was a paedophile, just saying his beard sort of suggested that he might be interested in underage people.
Would it be going too far?
Yes. Whatever you were about to say, yes, it would be going too far.
I'm glad you rescued me from that one. That was a good call right there. Yeah, you're right. I'm just going to cross something out and burn it.
Cross out the ideas. Be a paedophile.
No. It was much worse than that. But yeah, no, that is pretty good. Can I make a couple of changes?
No.
Thank you. When he's standing at his ancestral home, or paternal home, whatever the correct word is.
I'm imagining little more than a trailer.
Yeah. Can he be holding 30 Oscars?
Well, yeah, of course, because when he falls over and dies, he will drop all of them down the storm drain.
And they will get covered in shit.
Well, they'll just be sort of lost down there, because nobody checks storm drains.
I don't think so. Especially now that all the chuds are dead.
Yeah. It's the ironic thing that if the chuds were alive, then they would have found the Oscars and maybe that would have been some sort of memorial for him.
And then melted the Oscars down into an image of their god, Patrick Fabian, and thus the golden god arises again.
Yep, but that's not going to happen because he set all the chuds on fire.
Damn it, so he is in many ways hoisted by his own petard.
In many ways, yes.
I do want to question the bit where you said that he became a storm.
When did I say that?
I believe that was at the beginning of year 5.
I don't think I ever said he became a storm.
Oh, sorry, I must have misheard that. Something about a Joaquin Phoenix reality TV show beard.
Yeah.
That's what I got down. Who is Joaquin Phoenix? Does anyone remember him?
No. His brother was alright, I think.
The one who's dead?
Yep.
Keanu Reeves' mate.
Yep.
That's a sad tale.
Is that why Keanu Reeves is always sad?
Yeah, no, that is the reason why.
Because River Phoenix is dead.
Yeah.
Oh. Cut this bit.
Yeah, I depressed myself like thinking about Keanu Reeves.
Is that the name of the episode? Why is Keanu Reeves sad?
He's a sad boy. He is a sad boy. You would have hoped that the golden light of Patrick Fabian would bring some joy to his life. I imagine a lot of light gets reflected off Patrick Fabian's hair and teeth.
Yeah, He seems like a reflective man.
So this 5-year plan is pretty good. It has him retiring how many times? 5 times. Does he retire the 5th time? Does that count as a retirement of sorts?
Well, I suppose you could say he was retiring from being a chud wrangler to return to the acting profession.
Yes, taking Hollywood by storm, as it were.
Yes.
Rain and thunder like a god.
I'll let you into an earlier draft of the 5-year plan. Year 4 originally had Patrick Fabian taking up the profession of Thor, the Norse god of thunder.
It is weird that you thought that.
That was a little bit too similar to him being king of Atlantis, so I removed that and made him a chud wrangler instead.
I sometimes think we may share a brain, or at least share a vision for Patrick Fabian, because some of our ideas do seem to be very similar. The fact that we both see him as godlike, specifically one that is known for being handsome and charismatic and destructive and emanating golden light.
And we also both see him in a nipple-based teen drama.
I think that we can essentially pitch this to Patrick Fabian.
I mean, we do both follow him on Twitter now.
Yeah, so how many characters do you get in a tweet?
140.
How many characters does this pitch take up?
I'd say slightly more than 140.
Okay. Well,
I could do the whole thing 140 characters at a time and just fill his Twitter feed with absolute nonsense.
No, Phil, I think the only way to do this is to condense this entire pitch down into 140 characters and then tweet it at him.
Okay.
I think there's something in marketing that if you can't fit it into a tweet, then it's not worth considering. So we've got to compact this down, all of it, and I literally mean all of it, into 140 characters. But no task is too great.
I feel like you're trying to get some form of revenge on me for trying to make you do an elevator pitch for your whole fucking crazy movie last week.
Right, well, I will be sending Patrick Fabian an invoice because I feel like, okay, if he does any of these things, and I'm going to be watching him like a fucking hawk, okay? I've got this all written down. Let's see. Actually, can I just go through the plan once more with my notes just to compare that I've got this all down?
Yeah, we could. You just want to do like bullet points.
Yeah. Year 1, retire, treasure hunter, relic / holy grail, first cave, return to US, spit on Mong, kick dog into canyon, crowned king of Atlantis. 2, retire, luchador, win big, senor picante, decapitation opponent, fuck neckhole, drug cartel enforcer kingpin. Year 3, retire, robot wars, is a robot, buzzsaw hammers for elbows, dick off. 4, retire, chud wrangler, mobility scooter, pen fire, 6 months off. Year 5, storm, whack in Phoenix reality show, beard, win all Oscars, head home to Hills District.
And then die.
I think that is... you know how, like, when someone sort of implies that they're dying anyway, like, I'm going out for a walk, I may be some time.
I'm going to go and shoot myself in the head and brain.
Yes, exactly. Those classic...
Famous last words.
Famous last words, where it's like, they're, nobly going off into the night, or spraying the ceiling with their head blood. I think just, I'm going to the Hills District. Sorry, wait, this is meant to be Patrick Fabian, right? Like, I'm going to the Hills District.
Yeah.
We can all take from that he's going to no longer be with us.
Yeah, and that Patrick Fabian sounds a lot like Freddy Krueger. I'm all done. I'm all out.
I have my film review.
No, you're not allowed.
I'm not allowed. So instead, I think, because we've got some time left, that we should make this podcast a bit seasonal. And we should talk about the time of year that it is, a very special time of year, a festive time of year that is special to all of us. And I know that we wanted to be ambiguous about, like, when are we recording these? Or what planet are we on? Almost like in the last sort of podcast, we could have it. You sort of look up and then there's Earth above us. And it's like, it wasn't Earth the whole time, like one of those twists. But no, we're gonna let you in on the secret now. We are on Earth, we have seasons, time passes, although you wouldn't think it listening to this fucking shit. So I think it's time that we mentioned that it is the Easter celebration time of the year. Hooray!
I'm glad you said that, because I was about to say it was Kwanzaa, and I feel like I would have been embarrassed.
No, it is Easter, that magical time of year where where we go out into the street and knock on people's doors. We go to Wayne Manor or whatever and look up through the keyhole with little devil masks on with your best mate, and an old man answers the door, preferably the butler, and you look up at him and go, "Twick or tweet?" And then he opens the door and you smack him in the head with a metal cane and then say, "Twick!" and then jump into the manor, and then you blow up the place and like make sure you really hit that butler and get all the candy and the sweets and take them home, and make sure you kick over all the pumpkins, the jack-o'-lanterns on your way home. You know, enjoy all the bats and the cobwebs and the costumes, and make sure you like, as the kid in the neighborhood who's dressed as a mummy, make sure you step on one of his bandages as he goes past and he just unravels. Watch out for the razor blades in the mini rolls.
That's correct. Easter, for those of you who are not aware, is like a cross between Halloween and the Purge.
I have... I have never heard of this Halloween.
Have you heard of the Purge?
Yes. Who hasn't heard of the Purge? My favourite time of year, but no, it is not Purge season.
I feel like the Purge is coming up again soon.
It is approaching.
The Purge gets earlier and earlier every year, I feel. You know, even like 3 or 4 months before the Purge happens, you see all the Purge decorations. Everyone's like armouring their houses.
Sharpening their machetes.
Yeah. The commercialisation of the Purge, for me, is just a bit disgusting.
I mean, Easter isn't even in the grave yet, and we're already discussing the Purge. It is honestly a war on Easter.
I mean, the Purge is fun. I will be the first to admit that.
It is a more important event of the season, I'll admit. Yeah.
Like, the Purge is a time for family. Everybody gets like 4 days off from work over the Purge season.
All come together and huddle.
Easter, it's not as big a deal. I agree with you that there has been a tendency in recent years that the Purge does kind of overshadow Easter a little bit, which is a shame.
It is a real shame. I am thinking we should potentially have a Purge special of the podcast.
Okay. As in, like, you know, like how other podcasts might do a Christmas special or a Halloween special.
I don't know that one.
I think you're right. I think it's important for us to properly acknowledge and celebrate the Purge.
Okay, I think we shall pencil that in, because if we didn't do it, then I'd feel like we wouldn't really be taking part. You know, that sense of community, we would be missing out. So, yeah, I think that we should schedule the Purge for, I don't know, July 1st?
Yeah, I think that's as good a time as any.
Not a specific date at all. That just happens to be when the Purge occurs this year.
Yeah.
It moves around. Sometimes we have a Purge in a year. Sometimes we don't. It's determined by forces of which we cannot mention on this podcast. But no, this is the Easter special. So what are you doing for Easter this year, Phil? Have you carved your pumpkins? Have you... your Easter lanterns?
I haven't yet. I like to do it at the last minute just so the squash that you put your candle in is as fresh as possible. You don't want your Easter lantern like going mouldy on your front doorstep.
I mean, it's just bad form. But it is fun skipping down the residential streets of Basingstoke. I tend to go for the traditional hockey mask with bloodied machete, sort of going for the Jason Voorhees look.
Yeah, I like to dress as a sort of a leather face, but with the skin of a child draped over me.
It's very authentic.
I mean, I'm not saying that it's the actual skin of a child. That would be for other people to say, I think. I do swing a chainsaw, like an active chainsaw, wildly around my head during pretty much the entirety of the Easter period.
I have to say, you do a very nice pirouette. It is quite impressive that you can be so nimble with live petrol powered. It's a petrol one, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you can't go electric. It's not the same. You don't get the same feel from it.
You don't have the fumes and the black smoke jetting out the back.
In many ways, I enjoy my traditional Easter costume because it is good practice for the Purge.
Well, I thought, before we get onto the Purge, which is clearly near and dear to us, I thought I should mention I ran into a bit of controversy last Easter time, because I got on my trick-or-treating outfit and went out, and I thought, yeah, okay, I won't go the traditional route, you know, your ghosts or your goblins or your vampires or your werewolves or your bunnies or your those little chicks that are like yellow all over. No, I decided this is a holiday about expressing yourself, dressing up as whatever you want, getting involved in a little bit of, dare I say it, sin, and a fair amount of blood and gore. I mean, these kids today, they don't put a lot of effort into their costumes, I feel. They just sort of throw a load of fake blood on them. It looks ghastly. It's very difficult to tell if somebody's actually hurt or if they're just being the traditional zombie.
The traditional Easter zombie.
Ugh, boring. So I thought I would be a bit creative, and I decided to have my hair all nice and long and grow a long beard. I got like a wreath of thorns, almost a crown if you will, and sort of pulled them really hard down onto my head so blood sort of came down. It was very authentic, and I dressed in sort of a white robe and had sandals on and sort of walked around the place going, they know not what they do, peace be upon you, my child. And I had like this big wooden cross, and I was sort of dragging it through the streets, and it's quite good because I hollowed it out so I could put all my sweets in there, and I was dragging it around the streets, and I did not get the reaction I thought I would. Easter used to be like you go with your typical spooks and all that, and your supernatural and the horror and stuff, and in recent years it's been more sort of like, what was in a film you liked, or what's your favourite TV show, and we've all done this, we're all dressed up as your Breaking Bads and such. But I thought I would go for the more sort of traditional, that's a story, with ghosts and zombies and stuff. I thought it would apply, but I got some very negative reactions when I was staggering through the streets with the blood coming down. But when I just threw the cross down and cracked open the door and just stuffed my face full of chocolate, and then knocked on doors and demanded things from people and said, why won't you give it to me? Oh, now here's your trick. And I got another wreath of thorns and jammed it on their head, and then would push the cross onto some people and then run away saying, you've got to take it now. I'm escaping. I'm going to go and live forever because I'm magical. I got a lot of very angry people approaching me around the Basingstoke streets. In fact, that's part of the reason why I'm not allowed out at the minute.
That's a weird story.
That is a weird story, isn't it?
Of being like a church sigil carrying Easter zombie.
Yeah.
I don't see how anyone could be offended by that.
I know. I mean, I thought, okay, as far as bad taste costumes go, we all have your Easter parties where everyone gets a little bit too drunk and people are dressed in very revealing Easter outfits, I have to admit.
Yeah, and those parties that you go to, like the Easter parties, it's almost like an unwritten tradition that there's always someone there in blackface.
Yeah, you did it. We know you're not bigoted, really, but this is crossing a bit of a line. And then they argue, why is it okay for them to do it? And you don't really want to question that, exactly what is meant by them and those people. And then starts talking quite aggressively about leaving the EU and immigration and stuff. Very, very weird, very off topic.
Yeah, and alongside those people, there's always the people, you look at them immediately, you think, they're just dressed up as ghosts. I mean, they kind of stole your idea, I think. They kind of dragged those big crosses around. I assume they're full of chocolate, and they sort of just put them on people's lawns and then just set fire to them.
Well, that's actually where I got mine from. I have to admit, I wasn't quite honest with you there, Phil. I did start out with a group of people, and we had the white robes on and stuff, and it was all quite good. I didn't tell them about the costume underneath, because that little tip there, if you're going to an Easter event, you never know at the party or whatever, someone might be the same thing as you. So bring a backup Easter costume just in case.
Always wear 2 Easter costumes. It's the simplest rule that so many people forget at Easter.
And the worst is when you show up and it's actually a lady dressed in quite a revealing version of your costume. Then obviously they're going to get a bit more attention than you.
Or when it's someone who, you're sort of wearing a homemade version of a costume that they've clearly got the official version.
Oh yeah, they're all the deluxe version.
You've kind of cobbled yours together out of pillowcases and a big sheet. they come in and they just look really authentic, and you like really believe that they're hateful.
Yeah, I mean, they wear it with pride, I think is the term. Yeah, a lot of pride in their vitriol.
Yeah, I mean, the Easter ghost is a classic Easter costume.
Yeah, of course.
And people don't get offended by it. Why are people getting offended by your crucifix-dragging Easter zombie costume?
Phil, I have to admit, as I mentioned, the war on Easter, people won't approach you when you're in a group, but you get singled out and you're on your own, and suddenly people's prejudices just come out. They just overflow. They can't help themselves. I was with a group. We were all dressed up in a white robe, just looking all good and nice, and uniform, but I thought, we're not really getting much here. I mean, we seem to be going to a lot of houses, but we're lingering around for quite a long time around the Easter bonfire, sort of just hefting a large rope.
No tricks, no treats. No Easter candy for anybody.
Not that I could see. I didn't get any. And we were going from place to place. You know, we passed plenty of very nice, large-looking houses as we went by. We seemed to single out the slightly poorer or slightly more, what would you say? Well, I don't want to use some of the words that they used, so I won't.
I think that's sensible. I mean, they get very heavily into character.
So I thought this is not very original, what I'm doing right now. Like, this whole conceit and idea isn't original or particularly interesting. You know, a lot of passers-by, they're just sort of like looking away and moving on quite quickly. They're clearly not engaged with this. They don't think it's really worth their time. So I thought, right, subvert it, do something new. Let's bring out the big guns. So I thought, right, I'll get out my backup costume that I had on the entire time. Didn't see that. And I'll just go round on my own. And like I said, that was at the point when it sort of turned. And I thought was in quite a clever and interesting way, but apparently not. It's a war on Easter, I say. It's a war on Easter.
Yeah, I mean, the people like that who reacted in that way to your clever Easter zombie costume. I mean, it's that sort of person that makes me glad that the Purge is coming up.
I'm so looking forward to the Purge.
I've been sharpening my machete in preparation.
Well, you say machete, I assume your wall of machetes.
I mean, my suit of armor made entirely of machetes.
Okay, I think you've outdone me this year. I mean, I don't want to talk too much about it, but I actually have an oversized quiver on my back, and I can fit a good 20 machetes in there, so I can just string one of those straight into a bow and fire up to 3 a minute, I've got it down to. So, watch out for me.
You do that. I sort of just roll down the street and just turn into a furious ball of machetes.
The porcupine a la hedgehog approach.
Just mow down everyone in my path.
Well, maybe I will visit those Easter ghosts again when the Purge comes around, because that's what the Purge is all about. Not getting your own back exactly, but just setting things straight.
I mean, you hesitate to use the word vigilantism.
Yes!
But at a certain point, that's what the Purge is all about.
Well, for some. For others, I hear there's something about unseemly desires sort of fueling a lot of the celebrations.
I mean, there's always the naysayers when it comes to the Purge. You know, there's always people who throw around words like eugenics and like culling the poor, stuff like that. But, I mean, if you look into any holiday, there's some kind of dark undercurrent. You've just got to revel in the joy that is the Purge.
Yeah, this is a dark time of year, Easter, and as we've already seen, you know, some of the problems that come along with that. So yeah, I think, right, every festive season has its dark side. That was always the thing I liked about Christmas, in fact. You know, some people think that it's all like bright sunshine and days at the beach and barbecues and all that festive kind of stuff. But there's a dark side.
Yeah, people always forget about Der Krampus.
He's not exactly a loving figure, quite threatening in fact to the young and the old. And in fact, that's always something I liked about the Christmas story the most, is because it's coming off the back of Easter with all the, you know, imagery of ghosts and the goblins and the zombies and the vampires and all that stuff. You know, there's still a lingering element of horror and, dare I say it, terror for the Christmas season, which has been overshadowed by the Purge completely. No one's ever heard of a war on Christmas.
Yeah, and there's only so much time you can spend with your family. The Purge is a much more sort of, I'm going to say it, fun experience. The Purge is more fun than Christmas. It's a bold statement, I know.
I have yet to find a single calendar that makes sense to me. Right, I think that's about as much mileage as we're going to get out of that.
Why is it when we start talking about something that neither of us really have anything prepared for, it always ends up being like we don't know what racism is?
I think it's a funny thing to default to.
What is the magician's thing the other week? And this week, Easter is Halloween and full of racists, and then the Purge happens.
I think that's absolutely fine. The first Purge film is not very good at all.
I have not seen it. I have seen the second one. That was fun.
With the Punisher.
The Punisher played by Crossbones.
Yeah. The Purge has Lena Headey in it though, right?
Yeah. She is Ethan Hawke's wife.
The first one has Ethan Hawke in it.
Yeah.
God, that's Ethan Hawke.
Yeah.
I watched the whole thing. I did not... Like, you know when you're looking at something and you know what it is, but then as soon as it gets removed from your vision, you immediately forget?
Did you, like, substitute Ethan Hawke in that movie for someone else?
He was just like the normal guy.
He was just a very generic American actor.
Yeah, like if you like had a kid who was just drawing their first comic book or something and they just draw like the protagonist, the normal guy. Ethan Hawke just played the normal guy, a completely two-dimensional and just uninteresting to the point that he just sort of blended with like the clothing he was wearing. And I think if I try and picture it now, I just see a faceless mass where Ethan Hawke should be.
Is Ethan Hawke made of wallpaper?
What the fuck is Ethan Hawke? What is he?
I feel like your description was pretty apt. Like, if you got a child to draw a man, it would look like Ethan Hawke.
Yeah, he's just the man.
Yeah.
He's just like the guy in the film. Anyway, we've really dropped the ball on this podcast as a structure.
Yeah. We've done about 20 minutes of not even podcast anymore.
Right, that's good. I was going to say that. That's all good.